After revealing shocking direct messages on her new dating status, Sophie Sierra of 90-Day Fiancé departs the United States. Sophie Sierra, star of 90-Day Fiancé, is having a great time abroad after stating that she has been getting direct messages from some startling individuals after disclosing whether or not she is single. Born in the United Kingdom, Sophie immigrated to the United States to wed Rob Warren, her former spouse. Sadly, Sophie was dissatisfied with her marriage since she didn't trust Rob due to a previous affair. Rob continued to try to get Sophie back after she left him. In Season 2 of The Last Resort, Sophie and Rob split up. Recently, Sophie gave rise to reports that she was seeing Pedro Jimeno, the ex-husband of Chantel Everett. Even after splitting from Rob, Sophie remained in America. She has since disclosed, nevertheless, that she has departed the nation. Sophie posted an Instagram update that showed her current location. She shared multiple photos of herself posing beside a pool while sporting a blue swimsuit. "Back in the islands, my happy place," Sophie wrote as the caption. Sophie used the post tag to disclose her whereabouts. She said she was in the Caribbean, maybe on her first international trip since coming to the United States in 2022. One thing was evident when Sophie left her marriage to Rob. She had no plans to leave the United States. Sophie had created something significant in America, even though she had grown up in Marbella, Spain, and had previously led a more privileged life in London. Even in the event that Rob decided to divorce her, she was unwilling to give up the lovely life she had built and the friendships she had made that would last a lifetime. Now that she has her documents, Sophie has made the decision to only go back to the UK if she decides to have children in the future. These days, Sophie is content to divide her time between her favorite locations, such as Austin and Los Angeles, and travel to the Caribbean whenever she wants. Fans have been speculating about her lavish lifestyle, including the possibility of a sugar daddy, thanks to Jasmine Pineda on The Last Resort. Sophie swiftly refuted those assertions. Although some fans still wonder how she manages to pay for a fancy condo in Austin on her own, she finances her life through her OnlyFans and a new business endeavor in the United States. Sophie's fans are plentiful. She frequently receives direct messages from men, women, and even prisoners. Sophie is obviously doing well for herself thanks to her successful adult modeling business and consistent revenue from social media marketing collaborations. She appears to be living her best life and can easily afford to treat herself to upscale trips. She has been adamantly announcing that she is single lately. The 90-Day Fiancé star is all about living in the present and having a little fun along the way, even though she may not be planning to get married anytime soon. But it was meant to be their last opportunity. Rob and Sophie arrived to The Last Resort, an opulent couple's retreat with swaying pom-poms, the promise of healing, and an oceanfront setting. But beach yoga and camelot therapy sessions couldn't solve everything. There was something more sinister between them, a suspicion that would not go away. Ever since they got there, Sophie had been aloof. Her responses were brief, and her eyes frequently wandered. Rob saw, but he reminded himself not to make assumptions. Their purpose was to reconstruct. But on the third night, everything was different. While taking a shower, Sophie left her phone on the bed. The screen displayed the words, "Wish you were here." Last night will never be forgotten. Rob's heart fell. It was simply the initials M. His thoughts were racing as he gazed at the phone. Was she truly unfaithful? Instead of throwing the phone, leaving, or screaming, he chose to wait. Sophie sensed the silence when she came back, wrapped in a towel. Rob held her phone as she stood near the window. "Who's M?" he said in a low, shaky voice. Sophie stopped. Her face reddened after going pale. She added hastily, "It's not what you think." "Let me explain, please." Rob lost his temper. "Then let me know. Because this most definitely does not appear to be a text message from your mother." Yelling, accusations, and tears characterized the next few hours. The commotion coming from room 207 was audible to the other couples at the resort. Sophie maintained that she only confided in a friend she had met during a difficult time. Rob didn't think she was real. Not entirely. The following day's therapy was stressful. Rob was asked by the counselor if he could accept a betrayal, even one that was emotional. "I'm not sure," he answered. "I'd like to. However, I feel as though I'm falling for a ghost." Sophie sobbed in private. She admitted, "I made mistakes. However, I never had sex with him. I promise. Rob, I was lonely. Before we arrived here, you were so cold. I needed a conversation partner." They spoke more, without yelling during the week. They listened, relived memories, and occasionally chuckled. Sophie stopped communicating with them. Rob expressed regret for emotionally excluding her months prior to the event. Rob held Sophie's hand at the group bonfire on the last night. His voice was raw as he said, "I can't promise we'll be perfect. But if you're willing, I'd like to try again." Sophie's eyes were filled with tears as she gazed at him. "I've been anticipating your statement." They shared a kiss as a couple wanting to rebuild rather than as a couple healing together. But it was one of those overcast Sunday mornings in Los Angeles that tend to weigh heavily on people's hearts. Sophie's phone was clasped in her fist as she sat on the edge of the couch. She scrolled around the screen, muttering to herself in a British accent. There was no mistaking what she had discovered. Rob was still using a dating app. They had already experienced a great deal. For love, Sophie had left behind her friends, family, and life in the UK. She had faith in Rob. Or she had anyway. All that confidence was now disintegrating. She exclaimed, "Rob? Can we have a conversation?" Still sleep-deprived, Rob rolled up in the doorway and rubbed his eyes. "What's wrong, sweetie?" As if she were a prosecutor displaying Exhibit A, Sophie held up the phone. "Why is your dating app profile still active?" Rob's expression went cold. "What?" "That was in the past. That thing hasn't been touched by me in months. So, why does it say yesterday was an active day?" With a quivering voice, she snapped. Arms extended, he took a step forward. "Some mistake must exist. Perhaps it's simply cached or something." "Rob, stop treating me like an idiot." Sophie's voice broke. Panic clenched in her chest as she got to her feet and retreated from him. It seemed as though the walls were closing in. Rob's expression changed from bewilderment to guilt. "Listen, Sophie. I promise that I haven't seen anyone. I may have once opened it out of curiosity. That's all." Sophie's breathing became erratic. For this man, she had traveled across the seas. She had disregarded the red lights and the cautions. And now, with tears in her eyes, she whispered, "I sacrificed everything for you. And you're interested?" Her pulse thumping, she hurried out the front door, barefoot. Perhaps it was just her, but the world outside seemed to be whirling. She only knew that she couldn't stay there, not where she was headed. After several hours, Sophie sat by herself in a tiny cafe, gazing into a lukewarm cup of tea. Her cell rang. Rob was the one. "Come home, please. Let's have a conversation." She didn't respond. Rob sat with his face in his hands back at the house. Uncertain of whether to step in or allow the drama play out organically, the producers continued to shoot. Sophie came back the following day to pack, not to make amends. Rob tried again, promises, tears, and apologies. However, Sophie's heart had suffered an unavoidable blow. She whispered to him, "You don't build a life on shaky ground." Love is fiction without trust. The cameras continued to roll as she left with her suitcase. Sophie knew what she deserved, but she had no idea what lay ahead. And it wasn't this. But while in Los Angeles, Sophie sat on the side of her hotel bed and looked through Rob's old Instagram pictures. Under the guise of love and openness, they had met online a year prior, and their intense infatuation had prompted her to abandon her life in the UK and travel to America to be with him. Rob had consistently informed her that he was only 4 years older than her at 32. That seemed understandable, even consoling. However, something had begun to feel strange. Rob had a dangerously endearing personality. He always appeared to know just what to say, and his charisma could light up a room. The way he winced when he got up, the sentimental tales of the early 1990s that didn't quite fit someone born in 1991, and the way he dismissed discussions about their future children were all subtle indicators that Sophie had noticed lately. The numbers didn't add up. Sophie's assistance in unpacking some of Rob's boxes from his transfer to a new apartment one day marked a turning point. Buried at the bottom of a dusty shoebox was an old college ID. Although the ID was dated 2000, the photo was undeniably of Rob, younger, with the same cheeky smile. Her heart skipped a beat. That isn't possible. Rob wouldn't have been 32 if he had begun college in 2000. He was nearer 44. Later that evening, she faced him, her hands shaking. "Rob, what is your actual age?" He stopped, inhaled deeply, and averted his gaze. "I wanted to tell you, Sophie. I feared you wouldn't regard me in the same manner. So, you spent a year lying to me? Regarding something so significant?" Now her voice was trembling. "It wasn't merely a lie," he said. "It was a matter of survival. How many women swipe to the left when they see 44? I didn't want to pass up the opportunity when we first met." Sophie took a step back. A basic reality was concealed by the man she believed to be her acquaintance, who prepared her breakfast every Sunday, professed his love for her, and pledged to be honest. The number wasn't the only factor. Trust was at issue. There was a strained quiet between them for days. After learning about the drama, the 90-Day Fiancé producers took action, setting up additional interviews and looking into Rob's background. Buzz started on social media. A few viewers identified with Rob's anxiety about ageism in romantic relationships. Others stood up for Sophie and demanded her departure. Sophie finally consented to have a videotaped talk with Rob. She turned to face him as the cameras rolled. She remarked, "I came here for a future. It's not a fairy tale. I cherish the person I believed you to be. But now that I don't know who you are, I'm not sure if I can love you for who you truly are." Rob's eyes filled with tears. "I remain the same person. I still adore you. But when love is based on a lie, it doesn't mean much." Sophie found herself at a crossroads as the season finale approached. She had three options: give Rob another chance, honestly, or leave and go back to the UK with her dignity intact. She ultimately decided on herself. With a voiceover discussing love, trust, and how the biggest surprises can come from people we think we know best, the final scene featured Sophie boarding her plane. Greetings, dear viewers, greetings from my channel. I'm Amelia. I hope you're having a great day. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the video.